After my exhilarating adventure in Chittagong, Bangladesh, I found myself standing on the threshold of another journey, this time towards the enchanting island nation of Sri Lanka. The allure of Colombo and Kandy had captivated my imagination, and I couldn't resist the pull of their rich history, vibrant culture, and breathtaking landscapes. I felt a familiar thrill bubbling within me, one that is usually accompanied by equal parts excitement and trepidation. As I brooded over my decision to embark on this new chapter, my mind was a whirlpool of anticipation. Colombo, the bustling capital, with its unique blend of colonial architecture and modernity, promised experiences that would keep my senses tingling. I envisioned myself wandering through lively markets, tasting tantalizing street food, and perhaps losing myself in the rhythm of city life. The thought of visiting the National Museum, where remnants of the island's past lay waiting to be discovered, made my heart race. I'd often imagined what it would feel like to stand amid the ancient relics that spoke of a time long gone. But Kandy was where I felt an unexplainable connection. The sacred city, known for its stunning temple housing the tooth relic of Buddha, held a mystical allure. I imagined the serene beauty of Kandy Lake, surrounded by lush hills that almost seemed alive with stories of the past. I could already envision perfect sunsets casting golden reflections over the water as locals engaged in daily rituals. This was where I would delve into the spiritual depths of Sri Lanka's cultural heritage. My preparations for this journey were extensive. Beyond just packing my bags, I pored over travel blogs, absorbed articles, and watched countless vlogs until I could almost hear the sounds of Colombo's busy streets and Kandy's soft whispers of nature. However, with each piece of information gleaned, a layer of doubt settling like a shadow on my excitement began to surface. What if my adventures didn't go as planned? What if I struggled to communicate, felt lost in the unfamiliarity, or was met with unforeseen challenges? My heart fluttered anxiously at the thought of standing alone in a foreign place, a small figure against the vastness of the world. Yet, the fighting spirit within me refused to be overshadowed by fear. I recalled the exhilaration of having explored Chittagong, where I had tasted freedom through each decision I made. Stepping onto this next path was simply another opportunity to embrace the unknown. I reminded myself that the best stories often held a blend of suspense and unpredictability, and my life deserved to be lived just as vividly. Finally, the day arrived when I stepped onto my flight to Colombo, optimism battling my nerves. The moment the plane touched down, the sweet tropical air greeted me like an old friend. My senses sharpened, the colors of the city dazzled under the midday sun as I disembarked, ready to seize the day. Colombo was a sensory overload in the best way possible. The sights, sounds, and smells enveloped me in a warm embrace. I felt the pulse of the city resonating through the busy streets filled with laughter, honking tuk-tuks, and the tantalizing aroma of street food sizzling nearby. From the moment I tasted fresh roti topped with spicy sambal, I was undeniably hooked. I wasted no time getting lost in the vibrant peta market, where vendors animatedly hawked everything from colorful spices to intricately woven textiles. Bargaining for goods, I relished the interactivity, my earlier fears fading in the joyous atmosphere of commerce and camaraderie. During my exploration, I made my way to the National Museum, where history was carefully housed within its walls. As I walked through the exhibits, I was struck by the artifacts, each echoing a story, a culture, a moment from a time long past. The magnificent throne of the Sri Lankan kings left me in awe, and I could almost hear the whispers of ancient courtiers discussing matters of state. My mind raced with thoughts of how each piece had traveled through time to this very moment. Each moment a thread woven into the rich tapestry of Sri Lanka's heritage. Yet, as I moved between these historic sites and lively attractions, there was an undercurrent, a yearning to couple the past with the present. I knew that Kandy awaited me with its own tales, and this anticipation spurred me on. I took uneasy breaths as I boarded a train, a journey through lush green landscapes guiding me toward my next destination. The rail was infamous for its breathtaking views, but as the train rocked gently, I found my thoughts drifting. Would Kandy live up to the dreams I had woven around it? Would I find the peace I was searching for amidst its sacred grounds? The touch of mist wrapped itself around the hills as I arrived in Kandy, and my heart skipped a beat. This place felt different. There was a serenity in the air that urged me to slow down and embrace the moment. My first encounter with Candy Lake was nothing short of magical. As I strolled along its banks, a sense of calm washed over me. The vibrant greens of the trees reflected beautifully on the water's surface, and I noticed couples and families gathered for picnics, laughter ringing like music. The Temple of the Tooth was a sight to behold. As I entered, an intoxicating mix of incense, the sound of chanting, and the sight of worshippers offered prayers sent shivers down my spine. I felt the weight of spirituality in the air, a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos of Colombo. In this sacred space, I sat for a moment, meditating on my journey and allowing gratitude to wash over me. I thought of the paths I had traveled, the fears I had conquered, and the beauty that lay ahead. Finding peace in this moment, I felt an undeniable connection to something far greater than myself. In the following days, I immersed myself in the culture, trying food at local eateries, engaging with friendly locals, and discovering the artistry of traditional dance performances. With every step, I was reminded that this journey was as much about self-discovery as it was about the places I visited. The laughs I shared with newfound friends during a cooking class, the insights I gathered from a local historian, and the simple joy of observing life unfold around me added depth to my experience. As I stood one evening overlooking Kandy from a vantage point, the city twinkling below, I reflected on how far I had come, from the cautious traveler contemplating his next move to someone embracing the unpredictability of life. I breathed in the warm air, the sweet scent of blossoms surrounding me, and understood that the unpredictability was what made every moment precious. Each adventure, while different, was interwoven with the same threads of exploration, connection, and growth. This voyage was far from over, and as I stared into the horizon, I couldn't help but feel exhilarated by the unknown paths I would choose next. Each stop brought its own stories, its own discoveries, and I was now emboldened by my experiences. I was ready to continue my quest, not just to mark places off a list, but to dive deeper into the essence of each encounter and each location. The world was my canvas, and I was prepared to paint it with my adventures, fueled by the thrill of the unexpected. As the plane touched down on the tarmac of Colombo International Airport, a wave of anticipation surged through me. The moment I stepped off the aircraft and onto Sri Lankan soil, the warmth of the tropical sun wrapped around my shoulders like an old friend. I felt both exhilarated and anxious as I made my way through customs, my heart racing with the thrill of a new adventure. Walking out of the terminal, I was hit by a symphony of sounds. The bustling chatter of passengers, the rhythmic honking of tuk-tuks weaving through the streets, and the distant calls of vendors advertising their wares. The vibrant colors of the surrounding landscapes, deep greens of palm trees, and the rich, earthy hues of local buildings, added to the tapestry of emotions swirling within me. Fear and excitement danced together, creating a confusing yet intoxicating concoction. I took my first steps outside, the heat embracing me like a warm blanket. I couldn't help but feel a little lost, the unfamiliar sights and sounds almost overwhelming. Doubts crept in as I navigated the throngs of people, but as I found my bearings, a sense of empowerment began to take root. I was here, in a place completely foreign to me, and that realization ignited a spark of inspiration. I approached my driver, a friendly local with an easy smile. As we drove toward my hotel, I marveled at the street life passing by. Children played on the sidewalks, their laughter ringing through the air. Street vendors showcased their colorful goods, from vibrant saris to packets of spiced snacks. The simple joy of daily life was palpable, and it drew me in. Arriving at my hotel, I was greeted by the soothing sounds of traditional Sri Lankan music playing softly in the lobby. The design reflected the local culture, with intricate woodwork and inviting fabric that spoke of craftsmanship. As I settled into my room, the view from the window opened up to a bustling street below, my curiosity dancing with a sense of wonder. In the following days, I explored Colombo, a city that wore its history with pride. Walking through the crowded markets, the mingling scents of spices and street food made my stomach rumble with hunger. I tried my hand at negotiating prices for hand-woven textiles, feeling the thrill of engaging with the local culture. Each interaction helped soothe the initial nerves that had accompanied me on this journey. The visit to the Gangaramaya temple was another highlight. As I stepped inside, a wave of serenity enveloped me. The intricate decorations and the sight of worshippers in quiet contemplation was a stark contrast to the vibrant chaos outside. It reminded me that amidst the hustle, there was a deep vein of spirituality running through the heart of this city. I felt a sense of peace wash over me, allowing my doubts to melt away. Kandy was the next destination, a place of breathtaking beauty nestled in the hills. On the journey from Colombo, I gazed out the window, watching the landscape transform from cityscapes to verdant hills dotted with tea plantations. My heart swelled as I anticipated the serenity of Kandy. When I arrived, I was struck by the lushness of the surroundings, the cool breeze a welcome relief from the coastal heat. Kandy was quieter than Colombo, yet it held a different kind of vibrancy. The centerpiece of the city was the Temple of the Tooth, a sacred site that drew thousands of pilgrims each year. As I approached the temple, the air was thick with anticipation and spirituality. Entering the temple, I joined the throngs of visitors, each person lost in their own moment of reverence. I lit a candle, my intentions swirling in the flickering light, a mix of gratitude and hope. Walking around Kandy Lake, with the sun setting behind the hills, I felt overcome with a wave of inspiration. The reflections on the water seemed to mirror the currents of difference within me: fear, joy, uncertainty, and newfound strength. I paused to watch as swans glided gracefully across the lake, each ripple a reminder that change could be beautiful and transformative. As I continued to explore this charming city, I encountered friendly locals eager to share their stories. From artisans crafting intricate woodwork to shopkeepers selling fragrant spices, each conversation added another layer of connection to my journey. I had come to Sri Lanka seeking adventure, yet I found myself immersed in the warmth of human connection. As my days in Kandy came to an end, I reflected on my journey thus far. The fear that had gripped me upon arrival had dissipated, replaced by a sense of belonging in a place that initially felt alien. Each moment, each encounter, had woven itself into the fabric of my experience, reminding me that travel is not just about visiting new places. It's about the connections formed and the lessons learned along the way. The journey was far from over, and the complexities of feelings within me would continue to evolve. But as I looked back upon my time in Colombo and Kandy, I knew that I had embarked on a path of discovery, not only of a new land, but of myself. A journey filled with beauty, fear, and inspiration. The adventure awaited, and I was ready to embrace it wholeheartedly. As I stepped off the plane in Colombo, Sri Lanka, the warm, humid air enveloped me like a welcoming blanket. The cacophony of sounds hit me instantly: honking car horns, the chatter of people greeting one another in a language I barely understood, and the distant roar of waves crashing against the shore. My excitement was palpable, but so was a creeping sense of apprehension as I took my first steps into a completely foreign world. The bustling city of Colombo was a tapestry of movement. Scooters zipped through traffic, street vendors shouted their wares, and the vibrant colors of saris and the smell of spices filled the air. I found myself mesmerized by the chaos that surrounded me, yet it was overwhelming. The first challenge was the language barrier. Despite my limited knowledge of Sinhala and Tamil, I attempted rudimentary phrases, often met with smiles and laughter. The locals were friendly, their faces open, eager to help despite my clumsy pronunciation. Simple exchanges, like ordering food or asking for directions, quickly transformed into a delightful game of charades, with laughter bridging the gap between our languages. Kandy was a different beast altogether, nestled amidst lush green hills and a tranquil lake. As I made my way through the city, I felt more at home, yet still distinctly out of place. The monuments and ancient temples whispered stories of a rich culture, and each visit felt like stepping into a living museum. The Temple of the Tooth was a highlight, a revered site that thrummed with spirituality. The atmosphere was charged, devotees entered with reverence, and I found myself wrapped up in their quiet awe. Adapting to the local culture meant navigating a myriad of new experiences. The food, a symphony of flavors, was intoxicating. I tried spicy curries that danced on my tongue and sweet coconut sambals that burst with freshness. Eating with my hands was a delightful challenge. It required a new level of awareness and engagement. Each meal was a sensory explosion, colors, textures, and tastes inviting me to savor the moment. I learned to say, "I'm sorry," in Sinhala after accidentally dropping a spoon, drawing chuckles from the staff, who appreciated my efforts. As days turned into weeks, the sense of loneliness began to creep in, especially during quiet evenings when the streets became hushed. My mind raced with memories of home, yet I also felt a profound connection to this new place. I took to wandering the streets of Kandy, lingering in the small markets where the scent of fresh fruits mingled with incense. The locals began to recognize me. My awkward attempts at language evolved into simple conversations. Slowly, the strangers became friends. Despite the loneliness, the challenges I faced were often transformative. I navigated the intricacies of cultural norms, bowing slightly when greeting elders, taking off my shoes before entering homes or temples, and learning to be patient amid the slower rhythm of life. It was an exercise in humility as I stumbled through social customs, sometimes landing awkwardly, but learning gracefully to accept the missteps as part of the journey. I wrestled with fears, both big and small. Would I ever truly understand the nuances of this culture? Could I develop meaningful connections with people whose lives seemed so different from mine? A cycling trip through the hills brought these feelings to the surface. Exhausted and breathless, surrounded by stunning views, I pushed myself harder than I ever thought possible. I continued to accept invitations for tea and meals with locals, forcing myself to embrace whatever came next. Each encounter added threads to the tapestry of my experience, weaving a richer narrative. From sharing stories with a family over a simple meal to experiencing a lively festival bursting with music, dance, and laughter. I learned the art of patience here, the way time seemed to stretch and fold in on itself, wrapping me in the warmth of the sun and the kindness of strangers. My evenings were spent with a notebook in hand, reflecting on the day's encounters, how a single smile could change the trajectory of my mood, how a shared silence with someone new could foster an unspoken understanding. The vibrant markets of Colombo and Kandy became familiar landscapes, and the people within them began to feel like family. I had ventured away from the comforts of home, but in navigating the new terrain, I discovered a deeper part of myself, one that thrived on the spontaneous and unexpected. I was learning that adaptation wasn't simply about fitting in. It was about embracing every small moment for what it was, an opportunity to connect, learn, and grow. By the time my journey concluded, I found that the initial feelings of loneliness and fear evolved into a powerful sense of belonging. I had taken part in a shared human experience, transcending language, customs, and traditions. As I stood once more at the shores of Colombo, watching the waves lick the sand, I felt an overwhelming gratitude for the journey, the challenges, the laughter, the conversations that had reshaped me. I realized that home is not solely a physical place, but rather a tapestry woven from the threads of our experiences and connections made along the way. Colombo, the bustling capital city of Sri Lanka, greeted me with its vibrant streets and a blend of modernity and tradition. As I stepped off the plane, the warm tropical air wrapped around me, and I could already sense the city's energy. My adventure began in the heart of Colombo, where I immediately headed to the iconic Gal Face Green. This expansive oceanfront park, lined with palm trees, was filled with locals and tourists alike enjoying the sunset. I strolled along the promenade, savoring the fresh sea breeze and watching families fly kites. Couples take evening walks, and vendors serve hot snacks. The golden hues of the sun melting into the Indian Ocean created a perfect backdrop, capturing the essence of life in Colombo. From Gal Face Green, I made my way to the Colombo National Museum, home to an incredible collection of artifacts that tell the story of Sri Lanka's rich history. Walking through the grand halls, I was impressed by the intricate craftsmanship of the ancient royal regalia and the famous lion statue, which stood guard over the entrance. The museum felt like a treasure trove, each exhibit beckoning me to explore deeper. I lost track of time as I wandered through the galleries, reading about Sri Lanka's past and its journey toward independence. After immersing myself in the city's history, I set out to explore the bustling streets of Petta, Colombo's vibrant market district. The chaos of colors, sounds, and scents was overwhelming yet exhilarating. I meandered through narrow alleyways lined with vendors selling everything from fresh produce to intricate textiles. One particular spot, a small spice shop, caught my attention. The aroma of various spices wafted through the air, and the owner shared stories about the culinary traditions of Sri Lanka. I left with bags of cinnamon, cardamom, and curry powder, eager to bring a piece of the country back home. My next stop was the historic Gangaramaya Temple, a fascinating blend of modern and traditional architecture. As I entered the temple, I was struck by the serene atmosphere, accentuated by the gentle sound of chanting monks. The antique Buddha statues and colorful prayer flags adorned the temple grounds, creating a harmonious environment. I paused to reflect in the tranquil courtyard, appreciating the spiritual essence that permeated the air. On the following day, I traveled to Kandy, a city nestled in the lush hills of central Sri Lanka. The train ride from Colombo was an experience in itself, as I gazed out at the picturesque landscapes of tea plantations and rolling hills. Upon arriving in Kandy, I was immediately captivated by the serene beauty of Kandy Lake, which was framed by the city's mountainous backdrop. I took a leisurely stroll around the lake, enjoying the sight of swans gliding across the water and the peaceful ambience that enveloped the area. Kandy is home to the sacred temple of the Tooth Relic, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that is one of the most significant Buddhist temples in the world. As I approached the temple, I felt a profound sense of reverence. The ornate architecture and intricate decorations of the temple were a sight to behold. Inside, I joined a group of pilgrims who gathered to witness the daily rituals honoring the precious relic. The atmosphere was filled with devotion, and I couldn't help but feel a connection to the rich spiritual traditions that have flourished in this sacred space for centuries. After exploring the temple, I visited the Royal Botanical Gardens in Paradenia, just a short distance from Kandy. The sprawling gardens are home to thousands of species of flora, and as I wandered through the pathways, I marveled at the vibrant colors and exotic plants. I found myself drawn to the famous avenue of coconut palms, where I took a moment to relax and appreciate the natural beauty surrounding me. The sound of birds singing and the rustling of leaves created a peaceful oasis, a stark contrast to the bustling city life I had left behind. As evening fell, I returned to Kandy Lake for the traditional cultural performance featuring traditional Sri Lankan dance and music. The rhythmic movements of the dancers, adorned in colorful costumes, and the captivating melodies resonated through the night air. The performance was a beautiful expression of Sri Lankan culture, showcasing the island's rich heritage. The highlight was a fire dance, where the performers danced gracefully with flames, leaving the audience in awe. My journey continued as I sought out lesser-known spots in both cities. In Colombo, I discovered the charming area of Colombo Fort, where colonial architecture tells tales of the city's past. The old Dutch hospital, now transformed into a vibrant dining and shopping destination, offered a unique blend of history and modernity. I enjoyed a delicious meal at a quaint cafe, savoring local dishes while soaking in the ambience of this historic site. In Kandy, I ventured to the lesser-known Lanka Temple, perched on a hillside overlooking the surrounding landscape. The journey to this temple was an adventure in itself, requiring a bit of a hike, but the breathtaking views from the top made it all worthwhile. The temple, with its stunning architecture and profound tranquility, provided a sense of solitude and reflection, allowing me to connect deeply with the spiritual essence of Sri Lanka. As my time in Colombo and Kandy came to an end, I reflected on the vibrant experiences I had collected. From the bustling markets to the serene temples, each site left an indelible mark on my heart. The warm hospitality of the locals, coupled with the rich tapestry of culture, history, and breathtaking landscapes, made my journey unforgettable. I left with a sense of fulfillment, carrying memories of Sri Lanka that would last a lifetime, a deep appreciation for its diverse beauty, and a desire to return to explore even more of this incredible island nation. The sun was setting beyond the horizon, casting a warm golden hue over the streets of the city as I stepped out of the bus. My first months in this place had been a roller coaster ride, filled with both vibrant moments and daunting challenges. The transport system was a labyrinth of buses, trains, and subways, each offering a chance to explore yet threatening to overwhelm me at times. I clutched the worn-out map in my hand, a lifeline in the maze of unfamiliar routes and stops. Navigating through the bustling stations made my heart race. The sounds of rushing footsteps, loquacious conversations, and the distant blare of train horns created a symphony of chaos that echoed my inner turmoil. I often felt lost, both physically and emotionally, as I juggled the excitement of new experiences with the anxiety of stepping into the unknown. Yet, amidst this cacophony, I found a glimmer of hope, a chance to connect, to make friends, to forge bonds in a foreign land. My first friend was Sarah, whom I met while waiting for the subway. She was vibrant and outgoing, effortlessly striking up a conversation about the latest art exhibit in town. I found myself drawn to her enthusiasm, but also intimidated by how easily she navigated her world. We began exploring the city together, hopping from one vibrant neighborhood to another, sharing laughter over coffee in cozy cafes, and marveling at street art that told stories of the city's rich tapestry. Each encounter with Sarah peeled away my layers of apprehension, allowing me to embrace the beauty surrounding me. But life is rarely a straight path. One evening, as we made our way back from an art show, our laughter was interrupted by a sudden confrontation. A group of rowdy individuals came into view, their loud voices and aggressive posturing making my stomach drop. My instinct urged me to retreat, to fade into the background, but Sarah stood her ground, showing a courage I didn't possess at that moment. I could feel the tension in the air, an electric charge that threatened to spiral out of control. I was terrified, caught between the impulse to run and the desire to support my new friend. Deep down, however, this experience ignited strength I didn't know I had. I realized that to truly thrive in this city, I needed to confront my fears rather than avoid them. As the altercation passed without further incident, my heart still pounded in my chest, but I felt a sense of resilience rising. It was a turning point, pushing me to rethink my approach to this new life and all the challenges it presented. The days melted into weeks as I continued to explore the city. I faced new hurdles, the daunting task of finding employment and learning to navigate a variety of cultural nuances. Every rejection letter felt like a jab to my confidence, pushing me to retreat into doubt. Often, I would find myself sitting alone in my tiny apartment, the weight of loneliness creeping in. Yet, each time I felt the sting of disappointment, something incredible happened. A new opportunity arose unexpectedly. One particularly rainy afternoon, I stumbled into a local bookstore to escape the downpour. The smell of old pages and fresh coffee enveloped me as I browsed the aisles. Lost in my thoughts, I didn't notice the person beside me until their voice broke through my reverie. It belonged to a tall man with curly hair who shared my enthusiasm for a particular author. Our conversation flowed effortlessly, and before I realized it, we had exchanged numbers. His name was Jake. What began as a simple chat turned into long discussions over dinner, late-night movie marathons, and spontaneous road trips to nearby towns. Though new friendships brought joy, I was still grappling with the darkness of uncertainty. There were nights when I questioned everything, the choices I made, the path I had taken. One evening, overwhelmed by the weight of expectations and fears of not belonging, I sat on a park bench under the moonlight, tears streaming down my face. It felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, looking down at the uncertainty below. The emotional turmoil of loneliness and fear swirled like a storm inside me, threatening to drag me into despair. Yet, just when I thought I might drown in that darkness, I remembered the vibrant laughter of Sarah, the insightful discussions with Jake, and the resilience I discovered during that tense encounter on the subway. I realized that every struggle carried the potential for connection, growth, and unexpected joys. That night proved transformational. I decided to embrace vulnerability, to let others in. From then onward, I opened up to my new friends about my challenges and fears. To my surprise, they shared their own stories of struggles and triumphs that stitched our lives together. We formed a makeshift family of sorts, a support network where we lifted each other through the uncertainties that life threw our way. I began to see challenges not as obstacles, but as stepping stones that fortified our friendships. The city, once a source of anxiety, began to feel like home. Every subway ride, every bus journey became opportunities for discovery. not only of the city, but also of myself. The difficulties that had once loomed large now felt conquerable, and in their wake, I saw new paths stretching before me. The vibrant murals on building walls, the lively chatter in the streets, and the warmth of friendships became the backdrop of my new life. As the months passed, I embraced every aspect of this urban adventure. My heart raced with excitement as I awaited new encounters, and I found myself smiling more often, the weight of doubt lifting like fog under the morning sun. Each day was a chance to explore further and dive deeper into the life I was crafting for myself. In that moment, I understood that life is a blend of struggles and joys, and it's in overcoming the challenges that we find our true strength and purpose. My journey transformed into a testament of resilience, friendship, and the unexpected beauty woven through every experience, both good and bad. And as I watched the seasons shift outside my window, the vibrant colors of fall giving way to the stillness of winter, I felt a sense of belonging that I had once thought was just a distant dream. In the tropical heart of Sri Lanka, a journey awaited me that would spiral into an unexpected adventure, forever altering my perspective on life. Arriving in Colombo, the vibrant capital bustling with life, I was immediately enveloped by an array of colors, scents, and sounds, a welcoming cacophony that felt alive. The streets were lively with street vendors selling everything from coconut water to sizzling samosas, and I felt a thrill run through me as I prepared for my explorations. After my first day navigating the lively markets and marveling at the stunning architecture of the colonial buildings, I decided it was time to venture beyond Colombo. I boarded a train to Kandy, a city tucked among lush green hills and famed for its serene lake and the revered Temple of the Tooth. As we journeyed through the scenic landscapes, I watched rice paddies and tea plantations rolling by the windows, each view more breathtaking than the last. Arriving in Kandy, I was met with the aroma of spices wafting through the air and the beauty of the surrounding hills wrapped around me like a cozy blanket. With excitement bubbling inside, I visited the Temple of the Tooth, a UNESCO World Heritage Site that houses a sacred relic believed to be the tooth of the Buddha. The atmosphere was filled with reverence, the respectful silence broken only by the gentle hum of chants and soft music. As I wandered through the temple complex, something unusual caught my eye, a flash of gold hidden among the myriad of visitors. Drawing closer, I discovered an ornate box, adorned with intricate carvings, guarded by a monk who appeared deep in meditation. I couldn't help but feel drawn to it. As I approached, the monk's eyes opened, and with a nod, he gestured me to come closer. With every step, my heart raced. The monk began to speak, weaving tales of the relic's journey throughout history and its significance to the people of Sri Lanka. He told me about its miraculous powers and how it had been a symbol of resilience through centuries of trials. Listening to him, I realized that this relic was not merely a physical object, but a testament to the indomitable spirit of the nation. After our conversation, the monk handed me a small, wrapped parcel, signaling me to keep it with care. I hesitated, confused yet intrigued. He simply smiled, saying, "This will show you the way." I felt a rush of excitement and apprehension at the same time, unsure of what awaited me. As night descended, I returned to my guest house, the mysterious parcel weighing heavy in my bag. Curiosity gnawed at me, and despite my better judgment, I unwrapped it. Inside was a small compass, simple yet beautifully crafted, its needles swinging wildly before settling, pointing toward the east. The following day, I decided to follow the compass. It was odd, but something about the tiny object urged me onward, promising revelation and adventure. I left Kandy behind, heading into the mountains, where terraced fields met sky-high peaks. The journey was challenging, filled with steep climbs and dense rainforests, yet every step felt right, as if I was meant to follow this path. As I trekked forward, I met local villagers who shared food and stories, welcoming me with open arms. They told tales of an ancient temple hidden high in the hills, said to hold secrets of the past and blessings for those pure of heart. Eager to discover this mystical place, I pressed on, the compass unwavering in directing me toward my destination. After days of exploration, I finally arrived at the centuries-old temple, nestled within a breathtaking valley. The air was thick with the scent of jasmine and incense, and I felt a wave of serenity wash over me. As I approached the entrance, I was overwhelmed by the sense that I had crossed into a realm untouched by time. However, as I stepped inside, I was met not with peace, but with a strange series of challenges. A series of intricate puzzles and tests awaited me, each demanding not only intellect, but also compassion and empathy to solve. With each challenge I faced, I learned more about myself, the courage to persevere, the importance of community, and the power of humility. The temple transformed from mere stone to a profound teacher. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, I reached the temple's inner sanctum. There, instead of the anticipated treasure or profound relic, stood a mirror. Confused, I hesitated, but upon gazing into it, a rush of memories flooded my mind, my past decisions, moments of doubt, and revelations of strength that I had previously overlooked. In that moment, I realized the challenges I faced had prepared me for this understanding. The true treasures of life lay not in material gains, but in personal growth and connection. Emerging from the temple, a rush of clarity filled my mind. I felt transformed, equipped to see the world through a new lens, one of gratitude and purpose. The compass, I discovered, was not meant to guide my physical journey, but rather my interior voyage. With my heart full, I returned to Kandy, the allure of Colombo still waiting to be explored. Now, I carried the wisdom of the hills and the stories of those I met along the way. I understood that adventure is not solely found in distant lands, but in the rich tapestry of experiences that life offers. As I prepared to head back to Colombo, the implications of my journey loomed large in my thoughts, and the ever-present call for a new destination tugged at my spirit. With renewed determination, I began planning my next travels, my eyes set on the ancient ruins of Anuradhapura, where I hoped to uncover more stories, wisdom, and perhaps even another enlightening adventure. Thanks for joining this adventure. If you enjoyed the journey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing travels. Where are we heading next? Stay tuned to find out. See you in the next adventure.